Hey, how you guys going? We're gonna kickstart episode 2 now. If you guys are ready, let's do it in 3, 2, 1, play. Dramatic brass music. Alright, let's pick up some more details. See, Dana does know how to smile. Now we've got like the rain, everything's so depressing. Angsty looks out the window with Rene looking up at Yumiko, and then the sun comes out. She's even running on water, doing the impossible. Obviously, that's when they come together as a band and all the clouds disappear. I love that through this one OP, they're literally conveying probably the entire arc of this show, however many seasons there are, 2 I think, in this heavy symbolism. I'm looking forward to this. Cutie. Oh, that's how she chose the youth. I wonder why, if someone plays the youth or is in a brass section, let me know why it seems like euphoniums don't seem to be as popular. Is it like the viola of the strings section? Oh. Those. I'll take her. Oh, be careful, Midori. Oh, God. Oh, she really is going for the trombone. Okay. Oh. She's like cursing her. Low key like she is. She has such a dirty voice. It's amazing. Oh, what a good friend. Oh. Thanks, friend. Just outed me. I like Taki. I love the calm vibes that he gives off. He is gonna make him. Deliberately provoking them. That is a great way to lead or conduct an orchestra. It's like if you want an orchestra to win a huge competition, you've got to make sure the students themselves want it as badly. It doesn't really work. I mean, it does in some circumstances, but not for the long term. If like the conductor just forces everyone and drives them really hard. And those who don't vote. Oh, Aoi.
みんななんとなく本音を見せないようにしながら一番問題のない方向を探ってまとまっていく。学校も水部も先生も生徒も。どうして？そうしないとぶつかっちゃうからだよ。ぶつかってみんな傷ついちゃう。葵ちゃん。じゃあなんで葵ちゃんは手を挙げたの？全国行くか聞かれた時に。そうね。アリバイ作りかな。アリバイ？
Oh, if they lose. Oh god, so sad. I mean, I interpret it to mean if they lose, then she can be like, well, I didn't want it anyway. I feel like Aoi is sort of like the warning story of not to go down her path. Kind of like relationships, you gotta take the first step. Put your neck on the line. Yumiko.
練習を始めましょうか。
次の曲が始まるのです。
Next piece begins. I'm so impressed with the reality of learning music and discovering your own strengths as a musician and how hard it can be sometimes. So impressed with how realistically they integrate it into the dialogue and the conflicts between each of the characters. I mean, again, not that I expected any less from KyoAni. You know, they have this knack of portraying these emotionally complex situations in a very nuanced way, which I really enjoy about their works. Well, I've only watched K-On! And now this one, but yeah. Also, I love that Taki is in charge of the orchestra. He has this way of not leading by the whip, but leading by motivation, which is always the best way in music. You know, there's only so much you can force students to do. If they don't really want it, then it's like flogging a dead horse. But you can, like, spark their inspiration and their passion for what it is that they're going for, whether it's a competition or whatever it is. And that's how the magic happens, really. Oh man, I can't believe, I feel like we could watch another 10 episodes. I'm trying to remember, I mean, yes, in K-On! There were major arcs that spanned across multiple episodes, but I feel like with Hibike, again, just to compare the two, and not saying which one is better, it's just that Hibike feels like the overall storyline is much more directed towards the end. So starting from episode 1, it's not so much self-contained as it is like a multi-episode arc, and it just makes you want to keep going because you want to know how it ends. Whereas K-On!, there are certain episodes that were more self-contained, and you could watch one episode and be like, oh, that was a nice episode that wrapped itself up nicely with whatever conflict cropped up in the middle. And by the end of that episode, it would be resolved, or, you know, the life lesson would be out. And yeah, I do like, I appreciate both approaches. Alright, let's talk more about Hibike once I gather my thoughts up a bit. First impressions, I don't need to say this really, but it is a beautifully animated show, and not just in the little things like the incredibly true-to-life illustrations and animation of each of the different musical instruments, but also I've been reminded of why K-On! Was so quick to draw me in emotionally, because not only is the story itself compelling, but the use of all of these non-verbal visual cues to either reinforce what's occurring in the dialogue, or what I really, really love is when they use things like close-up shots of the eyes or the mouth or the movements of legs and feet, or even just sometimes the quick downward glance that lasts like half a second. The use of all of those things to communicate what is not being said by the characters. And that point actually was so articulately brought up by Aoi in the second episode right at the end, where she lays it all out for Yumiko that by virtue of them being in a band made up of so many people with different personalities and divergent goals and also different natural capabilities, you'll always get this dynamic where people have to be really careful about telegraphing their true feelings or their true intentions, because you don't want to cause conflict or hurt anyone in the process. But also at the same time, each person also has their individual needs and their desires and their ambitions. And so I think in these 2 episodes already, Hibike set up incredibly well this sprawling emotional landscape that our characters in the band need to navigate. It's like, to go on with that landscape metaphor, it's like they're starting off all separated, like on different points of this emotional map, and they somehow have to work their way towards each other and to somehow find common ground or some kind of unity as a band. I mean, like a high school band, or just high school in general, is a tiny microcosm of actual society. It's where you learn all the hard lessons about, how do you not only get along with people, but get along with people who you don't see eye to eye with, but also how do you do more? Like, how do you work with those people to achieve something greater than the sum of all the parts of the individuals in that group? Also, like, how do you know when you can negotiate or should compromise versus when to stand your ground and drag others up with you so that they too can realize that they can achieve greater things than what they believe they can. For example, like reaching the national band competition. There were 2 visual cues in particular that really stuck out to me in terms of how much they said in a literal 1 second shot. Or sometimes it was like less than half a second. The first was in episode 1, right at the start, in that flashback, after they've learned that they haven't actually made it to the nationals. Renee is devastated and she stands up really abruptly, and then you just see a shot of Renee's shoes step towards Yumiko, accompanied by that like sound effect, that tells you that it was an unbelieving, I can't believe you actually said that sort of step. And I felt like, so we know Renee was upset from her crying and her words and stuff, but also that like single step towards Yumiko and how heavy it was, the step that doesn't quite get up right in her face, but still expresses this deep disappointment with Yumiko that, and then of course we also had Yumiko, sort of do like a snapback. All of that, again, non-verbal stuff really filled out how Renee saw Yumiko in that moment, and almost like the utter disgust that she had for Yumiko, who, it was almost like she was saying, I can't believe you would get into this whole band business and work so hard and not aim for the stars. The other nuanced visual moment or moments I remember that made me quite sad happened in Yumiko's conversations with Aoi. Aoi is always, I guess she's sort of like always looking down, especially when Yumiko asks any questions relating to band stuff or their past in a previous band. And there's obviously a lot of hurt underneath this very, very thin veneer of pretending to not care so much about getting into and making it to bigger competitions, or even just doing better as a musician. And it really was through Aoi's overall body language and the way that she kept cutting short these conversations, that I got this massive trip down memory lane of just how hard it is in real life for musicians or bands to make it to the top of the heap. That for every winner or successful band or artist, there are countless others who failed, and not for lack of trying usually, but because not everyone can win or find success. And in the worst of cases, like, not everyone is born with that natural talent that if it doesn't guarantee your success, but it makes it easier, like sometimes, for musical success to come your way. Let's quickly talk about character impressions. Yumiko, I appreciate that she doesn't fall neatly into a one-dimensional main protagonist prototype. Like, she's not the extremely super positive, bouncy, happy, can-do character, nor is she like the complete opposite of that, like the brooding, I hate the world type. She is quite intriguing to me in that she's the ultimate fence sitter who at this stage is just happy to go wherever the wind blows her. Even the way that she ended up playing the euphonium has been so incredibly passive. There was no deliberate choice in the matter. Like, when she was little, it was because no one else in the band wanted to play the youth. Now in high school, she's stuck playing the youth, as she constantly puts it, because Aoi outed her in front of Asuka. So it's going to be really fascinating seeing how, if Yumiko evolves, if, you know, that's meant to be her destiny, into someone who really cares about achieving a defined, ambitious goal in music. And actually, this passive nature of hers really bleeds into everything else she does, and the way that she walks and holds herself. She doesn't initiate conversations with new people, for example, and it's like Hazuki. Is it Hazuki? Yeah, Hazuki, who barges into her life. The way she flops onto her bed and is so like, ugh, you know. And the fact that she sort of hates or despises the fact that Taki made the band as a whole vote for whether they wanted to go to nationals or not. She would rather just, you know, abstain and not have to be pushed to make those sorts of decisions. So yeah, I really like that we got Yumiko as the main girl, I guess, to begin with, because there's so much room for her to grow, and also she's clearly musically talented. You know, she can pick out whether the band sounds good, and in their tuning, you know, she's immediately onto the fact that they don't really sound that great. But in music, you know, talent isn't everything. It also has to be paired with massive doses of effort and of drive, you know. So we'll see. Like, she actually reminds me of some students I had. I used to teach piano and violin, and a student in particular who had all of the talent there, but just didn't want to put in any extra effort. It's like other students, they'd have to put in 5 hours of practice, and she could probably do what they did in less than an hour. But yeah, never really went anywhere because just didn't want to. You know, she just didn't want to be there. So I don't know. Hopefully it works out better for Yumiko than that. Other characters like Hazuki and Midori or Sapphire, I know these girls won't map onto like the K-On! Girls so much, but I'm definitely getting Ritsu-like vibes from Hazuki and then Mugi vibes from Midori. And with Midori, it's not just because she went to a private rich school, but it's more her otherworldly, very positive view on life, and also the way she moves too, like a lot of jumping up and down, very enthusiastic about things, and yeah, just her excitement at talking about and discovering new things, which is very Mugi-like. And you all know Mugi was my favorite, so yeah, I'm really soft on Midori in particular. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how these characters are going to be developed out more and more. The more we get to know really, you know, intimate things about their motivations and their backstories. So those two, Midori and Hazuki, along with Asuka at the moment, though, provide some pretty welcome comedic relief. And I guess you need that in a high school drama that has some fairly deep emotional knots to untie with some of the other characters. We talked a little bit about Aoi already, and how she is the ultimate, like, scarred musician. I do wonder if her voting against the band aiming to go to nationals is going to grow into this ongoing point of antagonism or contention with the rest of the band, or maybe even with Yumiko, when and if Yumiko eventually comes around and wants to achieve that goal. Aoi just seems to be absolutely done with trying, or life even, and that is a pretty bad place to be mentally, so I really, really feel for her. Who else? Oh, we have dudes, which is so cool. Taki, I've said, much respect to him for letting the students and the band democratically forge their way or their path forward. And Shuichi, I think his name was, we haven't seen much of him, but he does seem to get on Yumiko's nerves a bit, so maybe he also has a role in helping her dig herself out of the hole that she's in. Also, guys, I just caught a quick glimpse of the episode summary, and I realized that I've been calling Kumiko Yumiko this whole entire time. I don't know what happened to my brain. So don't worry, guys, I picked it up. Don't panic. It's all good. Do you want to know my theory, though? I feel like watching this has made me miss K-On! Quite a bit and just reminisce about how good it was, and so my brain has just totally put a blanket ban on any names or any K sounding words or names. Like, K is just strictly confined to K-On!, and outside of that, my brain just won't process. So yes, but it's Kumiko and not Yumiko. Alright, that is it for today. I am super excited for this new anime journey, and I'm very glad that you are on it with me. So let me know your thoughts. Join our Discord, go outside and just breathe in the beauty of life. I don't know, just do something nice for yourself today. And I will see you all really soon in the next reaction.